darkness was mist-wrapped silence tracked by passing cars, water quivering on every bead-hung hedge. It wasn't cold. It would have been better if it were. This damp blanket made the long, dragging walk home even harder, as if Steve were trailing the whole earth behind him, entangling his feet in muddy snares. He knew he was drunk. Not passing out, throwing up drunk, but enough taken to make this slow crawl seem endless. He left the car at the pub, not from any particular sense of responsibility, but because suddenly the whole thing, his whole life and its trappings, seemed a burden he no longer wanted. It's because I'm drunk, he thought. It's because I'm drunk, he said aloud to the still night. But in his heart a voice cried, no, it's not, and he knew why. It had been one of those evenings threaded by the promise of a party. He always went to parties, hoping secretly that they would be the great event they never were. But it was just another fat girl sobbing on his shoulder while her fiancé thrashed and grunted in a bedroom with a doll who wouldn't take off her white stilettos. He knew that because he'd had her too. This was a small town. Girls always cried on him though, because he was so reliable looking. And he honestly didn't mind that much. He liked women, and felt sorry for this one, humiliated in public by a selfish boy. There'd be a fight later. It was a sour odour brewing on the air, oh, he could smell it, and so was about to leave for pastures new when Joe came in. Joe was lashed as usual, his great handsome head swinging from side to side like a bull searching for the matador, and he was in fine voice, his loud laughter killing the tinny music. His shirt was off, and the light gilded his strong body, only just starting to be blurred with beer fat. Suddenly, all Steve could see was Joe. Joe howling and parading through his killer clown routine, the town's pet folk devil, the drunkest, the druggiest, the irresistible Big Joe Delaney, mad and bad. His best friend. Once. Steve remembered the days when Joe had been a blade so sharp you'd cut yourself smiling as he charmed the pain away. When they'd sat in the sun planning long journeys to Morocco, Australia, America. They were going to be heroes. Pirates returning home in triumph with the golden dust of adventure glittering on them. And he'd gone. Gone to that kibbutz. Gone alone after listening to Joe's excuses. Oh, no money. Next time, definitely, mate. Yeah, what a piss-up we'll have when you get home. And he'd seen the demon shudder of fear ripple Big Joe's backbone, the terror squatting behind his eyes. And he knew Joe couldn't make the break in case he failed, in case he wasn't king of the castle out there in the great world. The girl's voice pulled him back unwilling. She was squealing something about, well, how awful Joe was, and was it true he... Steve gripped her by the arm so hard her breath caught and told her to shut it, while he watched his friend commit a kind of slow, public suicide with the total ruthlessness of the self-destructive, eaten up by his monstrous secret, driven by his fear, uncaring of anyone else's pain and determined to keep his worthless crown. It was horrible. And all Steve's love could not prevent it. So he left and drove to that obscure pub, the one that everyone knew kept open, and got drunk, and tried to get drunker but couldn't, no matter what he poured down his throat, while the ghost of what might have been danced just out of reach. And he left the car and walked in the sweet oblivion of the dark, letting Joe go before those drowning hands dragged him down too.